Hello Sunday School teachers and helpers. I would like to give another update or some more ideas about how we can improve the programs that we have, the full hour-and-a-half program that we have for our kids who are coming in for Evangelistic Sunday School. And I would just say that what I'm going to say is things that I think will make it better. I'm not really seeing any huge problems, but the things I will mention will push us toward all of the time being more productive or producing a higher quality of experience and result, I think, with our kids. So I think the first thing I will mention are what I would call small group lists. And I will send this out with the update, but if you just see this list, you might not know what I'm talking about. So small group list is a list of things that is a list of Bible knowledge things that you could use in a variety of circumstances. I was talking to one of the teachers, and they said, I teach the fruit of the Spirit. Well, you could make a memory game with the fruit of the Spirit, and it's on the wall, and one piece is the term, the fruit, and the other piece is the definition. And when they match, they've won. They're having fun, but they're also seeing that. You could also do that with just the disciples, and you don't have to have the disciples' name and his city or whatever, just like Thomas and Thomas. And once they've matched, then you have that. So you could do memory game, you could just have a little book where you're quoting it. You do a lot of different things with these lists, and most of this activity would be happening in our welcome arrival time period that is kind of a loose but structured time, and I'll explain that later. But here's some ideas for this, and once you hear these, you'll think of some yourself. You could have a list of the 12 disciples, a list of the 12 tribes of Israel, a list of the 10 commandments, a list of Jesus' 7 I ams, a list of the books of the New Testament, a list of the books of the Old Testament, a list of the days of creation, a list of the Beatitudes, a list of the fruit of the Spirit, 7 sayings from the cross. And I would just say we're almost finished teaching 6 things, I think it is, that Jesus has power over. So you could have a list of the things that Jesus has power over. And so this list could be reviewing the things we've been talking about, or reminding them 6 months down the road still about these things. So these types of lists can be put into a lot of different activities that are controlled, enjoyable, but not one person in front of the classroom yelling and the rest of the class yelling at them or speaking really loud, or one person in front of the classroom and one person in the crowd while the rest of the kids are antsy. So this is what we're trying to work against, not necessarily having them all sit in their places from the time they check in so this activity time in the beginning can be loosely structured, where in one part of the room with the chalkboard they might be doing this, in another part with something that's a audio-visual this, maybe hands-on doing the activity sheet in another spot, and these small group lists will be helpful for that. So now, just for the rest of this recording, I'd like to talk through a recommended order for the program. And I've got more in it than just the 4 basics things. And so I would say this is recommended. I'd also say that I highly recommend it. I want you to at least try it. Maybe not all at once, but try getting these different parts into your program and see how it improves. Or maybe if your children are really small, or for your age group and your workers and even yourself, it doesn't work, that's fine, but try it. Try a portion of it, try another portion of it. Don't just say, oh, that's Pastor Vogel's idea, I'm doing it this way. Because everything that I say here supports the overall theme and the overall, I don't want to call spirit, but the overall environment, climate that we're trying to establish and maintain in the classroom through the whole time. So, of course, when they come, we're going to take attendance some way. And a bunch of the classes are already using our digital attendance program. And I don't want to scare people, but we're going to work toward that. We're trying to think of who's the best person in the classroom to be able to do that, the one that's the most, or the ones that are most comfortable with technology. and that type of thing. It will be really helpful for us to have digital information. And Joel is working with individuals, and we're trying to just work that in so that soon enough it's comfortable for everybody. Don't overly concern yourself with that, but if you're not doing that yet, of course, still take attendance with paper, whether it's a sheet of paper for the week or whatever. But we get who's there, and once they've checked in, you're putting them, they have choices in my mind. They could, well, before that, I mentioned this last week, and I heard a lot of you putting this into place already on Sunday, and that is to have some music going. I sent those two playlists, and those you don't have to worry about whether it's good music or bad, as long as it's the music that's on those lists. So those playlists are approved, if we want to use that term, or we don't have to be scared of some, crazy beat or whatever going on with those songs, which you do have to be careful with. You can put children's music into a Google search, children's church music, and I'm actually looking for a recording of a song, and I can't find it. And we've been singing this song through our ministry for 35 years. I can't find a recording of it unless it's really hokey, bad quality, or jazzed up. So we do want to be careful with that, but good music going in the background helps establish what's going on in that room without somebody in the front necessarily. Then we have the worksheets. You can do the worksheets a few different ways, but we want to make sure we're using the worksheets. The worksheets, for some kids it won't be a thing, but for other kids it will be. People learn different ways, and so to have the worksheet where they're doing some activities, whatever the different things that are on it, coloring of course is on it, but then there's other things with the older kids. They're doing that, whether they take it with them and you give them something to bring back, and I think I saw this. If I didn't, that's fine. But if bus captains are taking some and they're bringing it, that could work. But the worksheets are something that can be done. They could be doing some type of activity with the small group list that I said before. Color sheets beside the worksheet, if it fits in with you could have word searches. You can take the verse, put all the words of the verse into a website, and it'll spit you out an easy or a hard or a medium word search, and kids could be finding the words to the verse. What are they doing? They're having fun. What else are they doing? They're seeing all the words of the verse. So they're learning, they're reviewing. Object searches, those wouldn't be as much review, but those are fun. Small group games even. I mean, if you have a worker, all you workers care about your students, your children, and if you're able to sit there with 4 or 5 of them and play Jenga or Uno or something like that. And you might say, but that's not the Bible. It's not. And if you have a kid that's there from 10:31 all the way to 11 and that's all they do, move them along to something else. But we could have a lot of things where we control the options that they have, but they have choices during this time when we're taking attendance. We're reminding them, have you used the restroom yet? Because we don't want to miss anything once everything gets going. So there's restroom time. Verse memory time, you could do a small group thing. You could put the words of the verse up there, and they're reviewing the verse through a memory game, or maybe you use that for the actual verse teaching time. Either way, there's a lot of stuff that we can do so that the kids have several different things they can be doing during this time while new kids are coming into the classroom, kids are leaving and using the restroom, and all of that type of stuff. We want Sunday school to be enjoyable, but not on their terms, on our terms. But if we give them these options, these are all our terms. And so that's good, and it gets them into what's going on. And then I suggest, I don't know if I said this last week, but I suggest is tapping the volume up on the music. When you're ready to start, tap the volume up, tap it up a little bit more, tap it up a little bit more, and then at the end of the song, turn it off, and somebody who's ever starting is at the front of the classroom says, all right, it's time to start Sunday school. Everybody get in your spot. We'll put our games and stuff away. The workers will be taking care of us. We get our spot on our row or on our line or whatever situation that you have them sitting. And you say, now we're going to sing our Sunday school song. And I suggest we sing Everybody Ought to Go to Sunday School. It's a fun song, and it doesn't have to be wild. You can add a little bit of spice into it, but And I'm going to look for, I've asked somebody if they could actually record something for us for this. But that's a great song, it's true song, and it's a good way to say, now Sunday school is starting. We came in, we were doing all this stuff, now Sunday school is starting. And then, as soon as you're done with that, you should pray. So, prayer. And do a little bit of teaching. Teach them what we're doing when we pray. We're talking to God. Even though we're just talking inside our mind. Can God read our minds? Oh, yes, He can. Can God see the things we do? Yes, He can. Can God hear the things we say? Yes, we can't see Him at all, but He can hear, see, and know all of those things. And so then we've got kind of little routine spiel or little routine talk that takes 45 seconds or whatever, and then we pray together. And of course, the person opening would lead in prayer. Then I have review activities in there. Now at this point, depending on your age and the workers, some of the workers have responsibilities in the auditorium service or whatever. But I think review activities is a good spot, but for sometimes it might not go there. And if we have special events like program practice or puppet show or some stuff will get rearranged. But review activities. And review activities are, somebody's asking questions about last week's lesson. And then you're also asking questions about last week's chapter of the 5-week story, or how many weeks there are in it. And so you've got these times when you're asking questions, and I'm going to probably continually say less candy is better. If students can be involved, that's way better for them, and they like it even more than candy. Now, they love candy, but when they personally get to be involved, they like it even more, even if they don't know it. Anyway, I know that from experience. So review activities and and you could have some general Bible knowledge in there, but this review is the last chapter in Tifam or Pilgrim's Progress or whatever, so that they're remembering some of that for a little bit later, and then last week's lesson. And then you could have a song, maybe, or if I was doing this, I put the song there because some people might like that, but when I knew it was time for review and the review was winding down, I'm the teacher, I would be coming up and saying, that's right. I would just ask the last couple questions of review, because what I would want is the 5-week story review to be first and the last week's lessons review questions to be last, and then I'm going to come up and go take that review right into the lesson. So we have the lesson, and then after the lesson, maybe a song, they can stand up, stretch, and then it's Bible verse time. Now me and my wife saw this 20 years ago, 18 years ago when we moved from bus into Bible club, and we have done it for 18 years, and the kids still love it. And so I suggest that we just do it in Sunday school. We have a clock. It's a paper visual, and it has the time on it. And of course, the time is wrong, because it's not a real clock, but it has a clock on there, and she comes up, or whoever's going to say, who can tell me what time it is? My watch says this, but the clock says that. What time is it? And somebody says, it's this time or that time, or a worker says, well, my watch says this, or the clock says that. And then the kids, one child or all of them, it's Bible verse time. Okay, so we should try that, and I think we should do it. It sets the verse learning time apart from everything, and then you go through the verse as much as possible. Don't use repeat after me. The verse might not even be a whole sentence because it's just a verse out of the Bible. But if we break it up even more, I think it's better for them to hear the whole idea of the verse, the whole sequence, and just let them read it, let them quote it or read it or say it out loud continuously. You've got 4 weeks for the verse, so it's okay if they don't get it the first week, if they don't have it memorized the first week. But I would set apart some of that verse time to teach. Some of the verses are kind of short. Some of them are kind of long, but teach one idea. Maybe the first week you don't teach. The first week you just learn it, and then you have some activity where different groups of the children are saying the verse, and then all together we say the verse. And again, with the verse, I made available to all the teachers a list of ways, varieties of ways that we can teach the verse, and so I suggest that you use those. Look at those. And teachers, of course, you're probably not doing that, but give them to whoever's teaching. Make copies for all your workers so that they can implement these things. We do not want to be teaching the verse exactly the same way every single week. I think teaching the verse with the digital media might be harder. It's good to have, but using a chalkboard, using an eraser board, using different visuals, there's so many different ways we can do it that just a lot of digital work to create with a PowerPoint and stuff like that. I'm not opposed to it. I'm just saying there's so much variety that we could. It might be more work than it's worth to have to use the digital media for teaching the verse. But you finish teaching the verse, and then let's sing a song. And while we're singing the song, Miss So-and-so or Mr. So-and-so is going to come up, and before the song is over, he's up there or she's up there ready to do a very quick review, because we've already done the extensive review, quick review, and get us right into this week's chapter of the 5-week story. After the story, a song, or maybe not a song, maybe just coming up and saying, these were the kids that get the quiet seat prize, or whatever. Two things that I think we should do after the last thing on the schedule. And one is to review. The teacher could come back up and say, all right, now today in our lesson we learned this, and what are you going to do with that now that we're on our way home? And in our story, Tifam learned this, or Pilgrim learned this, or whoever the subject is, or whatever the principle was that was taught. We learned this, and what are we going to do going home with what we learned in Sunday school today? So a review challenge, that's just 2 minutes. Not retelling it all, but a review challenge I think would be really good for our kids. And then we should dismiss in stages. There's nothing wrong with what I saw this week, but it would be better in the hallways and all the way to the bus if we dismiss our classes one row at a time, and we remind them to be calm, all of that. And I know they won't be necessarily, but if we don't let them all go at once, there's less options. So one row at a time, one bus at a time, whatever different ways you could probably think of a lot of different ways to divide them up and let them go in stages, maybe 4 or 5 stages rather than all at once. And then the last thing on the program should be all the workers that aren't heading to a bus stick around and clean up. So I'm sorry. I think that, especially as the kids get older, but I think young kids can do this too, we can start teaching them to clean up. So whether it's a little prize for every 10 pieces of garbage we picked up, and hopefully there's not that much on the garbage, teaching the children to clean up after themselves, after the story, and maybe before the review and challenge. And then after they're all dismissed, everybody that's not going on the bus sticks around, straightens chairs, sweeps the floor, and then the class is all ready for the next week. During the school year, we'll need to pull desks out, and we will want to have a name of a person that's ultimately responsible for that. But I think everybody that's still in the classroom can stay for 5 or 7 minutes and make short work of it. So that's my order of the program. And I will I'll put this order in the email that goes out to you all so you can see it also. But I'd like teachers in particular to take the lead on this, but I'd like everybody to kind of know what we're thinking and see if we can implement some of these ideas and see that that we make them successful, and then grow to have a very lots of variety, no dead time, But no dead time doesn't mean all wild time. It just means something's going on. There's not a time once we've started that whoever's leading the singing knows that it's the end of the story and they're up there. There's not like, oh, who's got the next thing going. So that's what I mean by dead time, not wild time. No wild time. We don't need any wild time. But we can't have nothing going on. And this order of the program should help everybody know what's going on and what's going to happen, so that it goes click, 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 and the children, the students, are kept engaged. So may the Lord bless you as you prepare whatever part you're preparing, games, activities, lessons, stories, review questions. All of that is all important. We couldn't do the whole class without everybody's part being done well. So I encourage you to do a good job. Depend on the Lord to help you, give you ideas, and then fill your heart with His Word, so that His Spirit can use what you say as you sing, review, and teach.